Hello, welcome to the very first episode of Creator Spotlight from The Interface. My name's Alex. Today I have a very special guest. His name's Cody MacCallum, all the way from Canada. He runs his own business called MacTelecom, doing network consulting, a YouTube channel. You may recognize him from YouTube. So welcome, Cody.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like Alex said, I am from MacTelecom Networks, and I started this business probably 2.5 years ago, around the same time my YouTube channel started. And it's been a bit of a roller coaster ever since. YouTube has, since 2.5 years ago, it's grown my business quite a bit. And yeah, it's been a great time.
That's great, yeah. It's sort of in the same bracket as, my audience might recognize some of the networking YouTubers who got Chris from Crosstalk Solutions and Willie Howe and Lawrence. So you're sort of in that pool of specialist YouTubers that do Ubiquity mainly. So
yeah. There's quite a bit of people trying to do Ubiquity. Is pretty, like, it's a hot topic now in our niche market because their software defined network is, nobody competes with it. You look at TP-Link, Amada, you look at I think it was Netgear Insight, and just their interfaces are brutal compared to Unify, and the price points with Unify are great. So you're going to see more 100%. And more tech tubers coming out and trying to push Unify, I would assume.
Yeah, there's a lot of people doing it. It's quite a low barrier to entry. So at a previous role, I was working at a WISP, and Ubiquity's front and center in that market. Where it can be for the price point that it is.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can pick up a CP for a couple $100, a couple £100, even less than that sometimes. So that's great. So most of the stuff you cover on YouTube is sort of covering sort of new Ubiquity software that they release and some of the new hardware and sort of getting your hands on as soon as possible.
Yeah. So what I do with the Ubiquity stuff, you probably see my videos come out like day one once it's released from early access. I usually have the gear beforehand. I purchase it in the early access store and I just kind of have it sitting in waiting. I don't really do too much testing before it goes to general release. Ubiquity is the biggest on my channel. I am trying to spread out to do, Synology, pfSense, TP-Link, and I do deploy that to other businesses. But I see when I release these videos to my channel, like a pfSense video, it's not going to do, a quarter as well as the Ubiquity stuff is, and that could sometimes be discouraging. But when you do YouTube, you need to make sure that you diversify and you have a bunch of different products. So I'm going to start adding more of that into my lineup, just so more people get used to non-Ubiquity on my channel.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I noticed. The interface has been going about 9-10 years now, and I started covering as soon as I knew more about Ubiquity. I was very interested, so I started covering more about it, and that's the number one thing on the website now. Above everything else, the top 20 topics on the website are the stuff we post about Ubiquity. So I've done comparison guides because there's products come out that not many people. Well, if you're not well versed, you might not know the differences and the nuances between each product. So I started doing comparison guides on the interface, and they seem to get quite a lot of traction. And I started doing bits on the new software. So it's a very popular topic online. It's a good thing to sort of talk about. So
the comparisons are a lot of people want it when YouTubers do like access point comparisons or access point videos. I do access point videos all the time for new access points. People want comparisons like charts with speed tests and iPerf tests and all this stuff, but they don't realize that in my house is completely different than your house or business, whatever you're going to do. So your results are going to be completely off, and it's very hard to do. I've almost wanted to not do access point reviews anymore just because of that, but they seem to be a very popular topic. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, obviously they have different models. They have their in-walls, they have the flexes and all that. And it's great. I love the access points, but doing comparisons, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. On a website or on a blog style, that I think would do a lot better just because you could read it. Instead of me just talking and saying what my download speeds were in my house.
Some of the comparisons we do is just literally the products themselves, so what features they have, because you can spend ages on the website going through each product and working out which one you need, where you can just look at a table or something that we've done.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. So sort of when did Mac Telecom get started? Was that a few years ago or?
Yeah, so I don't remember the exact date. I started this channel out actually as a video game channel, and it used to be called something else. And then I realized that I'm not a great video game player or streamer, so I kind of switched from that. I think my first Mac Telecom video was based on port forwarding on the Xbox, and it did fairly well. I think it was port forwarding for OpenNAT or something like that. It's still on there. Yeah. And so I started Mac Telecom, the business, while I was still working for a bank enterprise. I've always wanted to work for myself. Being your own boss is great. So I started doing that. I was working full time and then doing Mac Telecom on the side, kind of on the weekends and evenings. And YouTube made it grow so much that I was able to leave that enterprise and just do this full time. So probably around 2.5, 3 years the business has been running for.
That's brilliant. Yeah, it's a good thing to sort of run your own business, and yeah, you can sort of work your own hours and you sort of decide who you want to work with and stuff, that sort of thing. So it's great. Yeah. I just wanted the next thing I wanted to talk about was Starlink, if possible. I know that I don't think you have a Starlink dish.
No.
But I know some other people do have those. It seems like in terms of like rural internet, it seems like a very good solution for people who have sort of no fibre broadband or even a wireless ISP to them. So I know Chris has covered the Starlink dish quite heavily, and there's been a number of price increases recently and a number of new features. So, is it something you're planning on looking at, or?
I probably won't buy one. So where I live, I'm about 40 minutes north of Toronto, Ontario. So where I live, it's a city. It's a small city, but we have internet literally everywhere. But I do service a bunch of farms that only get DSL, or they get a WISP. But their WISP is only giving them 5 megabits per second, and that's it. So Starlink would be beneficial to them. Not that they're not using a whole lot of bandwidth anyway, but to be able to get faster speeds, like we have a bunch of stuff set up for them, alarm systems, cameras, and things like that. So even remoting in to look at our Protect cameras could be a little laggy at sometimes.
Yeah.
So Starlink, I probably am going to push towards the customers. Have I used it physically? No, I haven't yet. I think it's great though for the price point.
Yeah, there's a project I'm working on with someone looking at doing remote Wi-Fi for pop-up events like weddings and different events like that. So you could have an all-in-one solution that you have a Dream Machine and different antennas and have the Starlink at that particular place. You wouldn't have to worry about 4G or 4G LTE or that sort of thing. So it's a good project for that. Yeah.
Well, especially now that you could I forget what they call it, but you could change locations. Not while you're driving, obviously, but you could change it to different locations, events. So if you just buy the one dish, you could bring it to, if you're doing weddings or something like that, you could bring it to every single wedding that you go to. You'd charge for Wi-Fi if you want, and you could use that as like a type of a business model. I think a lot of people are going to end up doing that.
Yeah, it's portability mode. That is, you can't. There's also the RV mode, which is a bit controversial. You get degraded performance, so you get bottom of the tree sort of priority. Yeah. While we're on the topic of WISP, we mentioned WISP just briefly. So it's something that I know quite a bit about. Sort of Ubiquity's WISP product line on the AirMax and that sort of thing. So Ubiquity just announced UISP Wave. I know you had a video released. I think it was a few days ago, a few weeks ago, when they announced that on their traditional little video they do when it's pre-early access. It looks very interesting, that does, with the 60 gigahertz point to multipoint. Is that something have you done any stuff with the AirMax stuff, or?
So I've done a little bit. Like I said, we don't do a lot of point to point or point to multipoint. For these farms, I have, because we needed to extend coverage to get our cameras different places and get network up there. So in that situation, I have worked with a few wireless ISPs in my area, but they're not as common where I live. I'd like to do more of it because it's fun. I love doing that type of stuff, going up, setting up, and it's awesome. It's a great time. I won't go super high up on a pole or something to mount a dish, but doing like traditional point-to-point between buildings, I think the wave stuff looks great. We don't do a whole lot of it though. No,
the wave stuff, I think it's in the early access store now. Looks very, very interesting. It's got quite a lot of range, and to get that range, they seem to be pumping the gain up quite high on the antennas, I've noticed, which is interesting. And yeah, the 5 gig backup, and the you can group 3 wave APs together and have a very wide degree of coverage with about 50 clients, which is amazing for. So if you've got a WISP in a sort of a more less populated area, you could use that as an alternative to 5 gigahertz and sort of compete with fiber a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. I'm hoping Ubiquity maybe send me some of it, and then I could play around with it. It will just be in my office, but we'll see. I mean, I do have a whole bunch of point-to-point dishes in the basement that I've been meaning to do videos on, but realistically, it's me setting them up side by side in this room. So it's not really a real world. I mean, I'll do the config, and that's pretty much it. It's not setting up on the pole. It's not doing the wiring and all of that. But I think it would be still interesting to test them out.
Yeah, especially with the throughput claims they've made.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. The other thing was, I know you've covered a little bit, and you've got access to it in Canada, but the Unified Talk platform. So I've managed to get my hands on via the magic of eBay is one of the Flex phones that I've got.
Oh, nice.
So I managed to test it out here, but the actual Unified Talk application is available in the US currently with their phone service. And then
so Unified Talk
as well.
I think Unified Talk, I mean, as much as people think Unified Talk is... Ubiquity did it before. I think they called it VoIP or something like that. I forget.
It was VoIP. I've used it before, yeah. It was a bit weird.
Yeah. And then they kind of just left it, right? And stopped using it. Some people think that they're going to do this with Unified Talk. I'm on the other end. I don't think they're going to. If you look at their UDM Pros, you look at the UDM SEs, the UDRs, the Cloud Key Gen 2s, they're building those so it's a full small to mid-range business solution. You have your talk, you have your access, you have all that stuff. We don't have it here in Canada either, Unified Talk. I have a workaround that I just do for videos, and that's it. But you could use Unified Talk with third-party SIP providers. It does work better when you're paying into their SIP. If you've ever worked with, I'm not a phone VoIP expert, but if you've ever worked with phone systems, they are very complicated and just confusing. Grandstream isn't too bad. But when you're looking at Unified Talk, they make it so if you have a bit of tech knowledge, you could walk through that and set up your whole business phone system very easily. I mean, if you have to troubleshoot something, that's a different story. But if you have a stable network, you're going to get your Unified Talk up and running in minutes.
Yes, it's a very good... I only bought it just so I can look at the GUI, because there's no way you could look at the GUI without having a phone plugged in. So it was something that was interesting looking at. So hopefully at some point they bring it to other countries. But at the time,
I've been pushing them to bring it to other countries. I think there's probably legalities around it where they telecom legalities. We'll see. I've been trying to get a date because I have most of my customers, they need a new phone system. They're still running on analog, and they already have a Unify system. So why not just throw a few phones in? I mean, the price point is nothing. I forget what the Touch Max phones, the big ones, maybe like $129 or $90, something like that. I mean, then you could buy one phone line, and you could have unlimited inbound and outbound calls. Like you're paying $10 a month for a business phone line.
Yeah, it's a very good price point. Very good price point for that. It seems like you're mentioning Ubiquiti's had a history of sort of discontinuing products without any notice before. I feel like they've entered like a new era a little bit recently. So with some of the Dream Machines and that sort of thing, I think they're sort of in a new stage of the company a little bit. So they're taking things a little more seriously, possibly. It seems like anyway. So
I think so. I mean, a lot of people were mad about what was it, Unify. Not the old system, the old Protect system, Unified Video.
It's Unified Video.
Oh, people were but I mean, I think they gave quite a bit of time to say
they did.
We're pushing this out. We're discontinuing. I still have people calling me saying they can't access their camera system while they're on Unified Video, which they discontinued that cloud service. And they were giving you 50% off. You trade that in, you get 50% off the UNVR. I think I think they're doing a great job. I know there's lots of people and lots of hate. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased. I love Ubiquity, but I feel like they're really trying to push it to the next level, and they are coming out with a lot of new products. But they are, a lot of people, their routing was the biggest issue, and they're almost on par with all of the other vendors. Like, there is a couple things that you can't still do, but they are working on that, and that's coming in the future.
Yeah, definitely. The Protect system, I think it's been out a little while now, maybe 4 years, I think.
Yeah,
it's definitely matured very well. I remember looking at some screenshots from the very first version. It was quite basic compared to what we have now.
yeah,
and it's the only thing I'm really missing is a AMPR camera. That'd be quite useful, but I don't think that's something they'll add. But everything else is amazing. The 4K cameras and just the ease of use and that sort of thing. So it's
you know great. What? The ease of use is the biggest thing. Like, we go into businesses and they're like, show me how to use my Hikvision. I don't use Hikvision that often, and the interface is horrible in my opinion. Unify Protect is just easy to use. If you need to go back and capture footage, like if you have a smart detection or somebody at your door or somebody takes something off your porch, it is so easy to go through your smart detections and find that clip, download it, and then send it off to the police or whoever.
Yeah, definitely.
They're going to be adding animal detection. I don't really care about that, but their AI is supposed to be getting a lot better in the future. So we'll just see. Hopefully they come out with some sort of roadmap so we all know. I think that's what people want to see. What's coming out from Ubiquity and when can we expect it?
There is a little tiny bit of a roadmap in those monthly videos they do. So they mentioned in May that in June this month they're going to be bringing the stacking feature to early access. So that's public knowledge. So
the stacking I found out, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. It was just somebody who said it in a forum, but apparently it's only for the UNVR Pros. So the 7 bay, so you only could stack those together. So if you have, the 4 bays, you can't stack that. I'm hoping that maybe that's just for the beta, that they're doing it with just the pros, and then in the future they'll push it out to the normal UNVRs, because I have tons of clients who are looking to expand and they have those 4 bays.
Yeah, I've got one as well. The 4 bay unit would be quite good if that would expand to that unit as well. So
exactly, yeah.
Awesome. The unified teleport feature. I don't know if I've used that once. So I've got a UDM-SE that powers my network at home. So I've used it once from remoting back into the network, and it works pretty well. Is that anything have you used that at all?
Yeah, so I only used it initially to do my video on. I'm a Windows person, so I don't have any Apple. I mean, I have my iPhone, and I don't really remote into my network anyway. I'm at home most of the time, so I did use it in the video, and it was extremely easy to use. Once they get a Windows client, I mean, it's going to be game changing. But they really do need to integrate WireGuard, like full support, so we could get those site to site up and running quicker. I think it is something coming down the pipeline. But Teleport, from what I've tested, it was very easy to use. You just send a link to whoever. They have a Wi-Fi Man app, and then they're connected to your network. Yeah,
I noticed they said in the Unify application that there's a Mac version, but the Mac version is just so if you have a later Mac, one with the Apple Silicon chips, you can just run the iPhone version on the Mac. It doesn't actually do the VPN stuff. So at the moment, it is only just the iPhone that can run Teleport.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Like, I don't know a whole lot of people who remote into their network. I mean, there are some times where you remote into your network from your phone. Maybe you're trying to, I don't know, if you have a Synology photo or whatever, you're trying to upload it to there and then you connect to the VPN. That would be a use case for me, because I do use that.
Definitely.
But I don't usually, I mean, I'm always on a computer. If I'm doing work, I'm doing it through a computer. So I do need that client support on Windows, and if you have a Mac. I think once they get that out, then Teleport will be great for a lot of businesses.
Definitely. Excuse me. The other thing, at a previous role, I've used UID as well. Mm-hmm. So they got the Unified Identification Service. So just before I left, we set up an entire office using UID. So when we moved into a new office, we had to do a whole unified deployment. So we decided we'd use UID to simplify the authentication for the devices. So at the time when we deployed it, it was in beta for Europe, but we got access to use it. You can apply for a quota and that sort of thing. So that for me worked pretty well. It's sort of another indication of where Ubiquity's headed a little bit.
So UID is it? UID is still beta in Canada. It's not out fully. I don't think. I mean, I haven't looked, but I believe it's still in beta here. When I did my videos on UID, that's when it released in the States. I like how they have that free tier where you could go up to I forget how many doors, and I think it's 50 users. I think it gets a little costly when you start paying. But for ease of use, for VPN, one-click Wi-Fi, all of that, it's going to be great if that's what your organization needs.
Yeah, we used it for camera access and Wi-Fi access. So we're at a point where we were using MAC address authentication to get people online and offline. Just it got very messy, so we decided to use UID instead. And for the cameras as well, with the camera access, you can add a UNVR to UID, and then you can use the authentication from UID to give them access to the cameras, for example. So that was really
that's awesome. Yeah, I haven't worked on UI. I mean, I've worked on it for a few clients in the States. Besides that, I haven't fully deployed it, obviously, to any of my clients. The one major feature that people want, or my clients do want, is the ability to unlock your doors, Unify access, through your phone. Without UID, you can't do that right now.
Oh, really?
So we'll wait. We'll have to see until it gets to Canada. We could sign them up for the free tier, because I only deal with more small to mid-sized businesses. They don't need anything over that. And then they could just unlock the doors with their phone, which I think is great. And going back on Unify Talk for a second.
Yeah.
My biggest thing, I talked about this in a video the other day, is having a soft phone so that we could, use our Unify Talk on our cell phones. There is a picture on Unify. If you click on UID, you will see there's a little talk icon. So it does look like they're working on a soft phone. So that's going to be a great.
Yeah, I'll flash that image up on screen once in the edit. But I think I've seen that. That'd be quite useful, especially if you've got salespeople that are remote all the time and they want to take calls from their car, that sort of thing. So that'd be very good. Definitely. So the other thing was Unify Connect as well. So on the topic of UID, those two go hand in hand a little bit. So it's Unify Connect. So I think it's still in early access, but it's very public in its knowledge still, because Ubiquity's released some YouTube videos about it. So the only thing we're really allowed to talk about things that are in early access are really what Ubiquity, like you'll see my reaction videos, you'll see Chris, I think him and I are the only ones who really do it right now. But we're only allowed to talk about things that Ubiquity post. Can't really go into their EA store and pull up a bunch of other stuff, but Unify Connect, it looks like a digital signage type of thing, which is going to be huge for businesses. Because I do know people who have already moved over to it, and they're saving a few $1,000s a year because they're paying monthly fees to these digital signage businesses to update their media and all of that. Where if you have Unify Connect, you can just upload your own images and things like that, and it's very simple to use. By digital signage, do you mean menus and things like in cafes? When you go up to the bar to order stuff, you have the TVs up there. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So you could do that. You could put whatever you want on it. I forget what there is other features of it. I just don't think they showed it yet though.
Fair enough. The other thing I think it's related was so that video I'm referencing. I'll put a link in the description of this video. But it's the overview Unify Connect announcement video with the EV chargers and that lady walking around with her phone that was unlocking doors and turning lights on. That looks quite interesting. So. Yeah,
I guess that would be a part of the Unify Connect screens as well. I haven't tested that yet, obviously, but it does look.
Sure. The
electric vehicle charges. I don't know. That's weird to me, but we'll see. Maybe they'll send me one. I don't have an EV, but I'll find somebody who does and do a video on it. That's a little bit different to me, but everything else that they showed in that video, like they have the Connect put on the wall, you're dimming your lights with it. They show like an LED pot light and an LED, one of those, just a regular rectangle light, which they already had released before. but now they're just pushing that into Unify Connect. They also showed a thermostat, which is new, and I'll put that in my house if they do have it, or if it does come out of early access. But just the things they're doing with their lineups for small businesses is game changing, in my opinion.
Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of things they're working on at the same time. I've heard some comments about Ubiquity before, saying they need to sort of focus on, sort of stop doing loads of different things at once and sort of focus on one thing. But I think people fail to understand is that Ubiquity's their structure is very unlike a sort of a traditional company. They've got lots of different teams in lots of different countries, where each team in that country is working on one specific product line. So it's not like someone doing air fiber stuff is working on this new EV charging. It's very much departmentalized, so it's a bit different to how people think it is, I think.
Well, exactly. Like a lot of people say that to me. I get comments about it all the time. They need to stick to the routing and switching and Wi-Fi. If you don't have a company that doesn't innovate, they're never going to make more money. I mean, they're just going to stay at whatever capital they're at, and they're not going to go up. I won't mention companies, but there's other companies who just focus on access points and switches, and they pretty much copied and pasted Ubiquity. And they're not doing nearly as well. Like Ubiquity is coming out with great devices. Like you look at the G4 Doorbell Pro, although it's still missing some features, like for people who have home automated houses, they will be coming out with a lock and stuff. You could scan your thumb and get in your house. If you want that or not, whatever. But the new equipment that's coming out, I think, is awesome. And if they stop releasing new products, I mean, they'll just dry up and it will get boring.
Yeah, there won't be so much hype about the company as there is right now. Mm-hmm. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah.
You mentioned electric vehicles. I think you mentioned you haven't got an electric vehicle. Is that something that's on your radar at some point, do you think?
Well, so I'm still driving around a 2016 Hyundai Elantra. When I go to job sites, I throw ladders in it, put all my cable in it. It's a beater car. I do need a new car. It's very... I don't know what I want to go with yet because I'd need a service vehicle. And electric vehicles right now in Canada anyway, I don't think there's a ton of charging stations. So if I'm going down to a job site and I need to plug in somewhere, I'm going to have to wait around for a while. Do I really want that? No. If I was to get a EV, it would probably be the Cybertruck. My fiance thinks it's ugly, but I think it looks cool. I throw a couple ladders in it, put a wire wrap of Mac Telecom on it, and I think it would be great for advertising.
Sounds pretty good. So so you said there's not many chargers in Canada at the moment. It's sort of, I'm not sure what it is like in that country, but in the UK now, I think we've got, out of everyone who's bought an electric vehicle, I think there's 1.5% of people now, 1.5% of the total vehicles in this country is electric now, which is pretty significant, I think.
Mm-hmm. Pretty good. I'm not actually sure. I don't look at electric vehicles too often. So I have no idea. I know within our, there's restaurants around, and that chain, they have all EV charging stations. So there are quite a few, but if you're, I travel a lot of remote places, and those remote places wouldn't have it. It depends on the range. I haven't even looked into it that much, but a gas vehicle is very expensive with prices of gas anyway right now, so I may be switching to an EV eventually. Yeah,
it's that's the same case here as well. Petrol gas prices have exploded basically.
It's nuts.
Yeah. Electric vehicles is something we cover on the interface quite regularly. So if there's any new vehicles, even if it's electric or not, we tend to cover what's coming out in different countries. So it's something I've got an interest in, is electric vehicles.
Oh, awesome! I'll have to take a look because it would be more of an electric truck that I would need because I'm done with throwing ladders into a car. I need something that could handle ladders and boxes of cable and all of my equipment. So if I did go with an EV, it would have to be a fairly big size vehicle.
Yeah, the electric trucks, there's pickup trucks, there seems to be there's a number of them around. There's a Ford F-150 Lightning, which is it basically looks like a normal F-150, but it's electrified. And I think Chevrolet have the I'm not sure what you call it, but it's their electric truck as well. And then there's Rivian, obviously, which have just started delivering to customers this past few weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
it's spending a lot of money too, right? Like those, I have to look at the price point. I don't know if I want to spend $200,000 on an electric vehicle. I doubt they're that much, but I mean, I'm sure they're fairly high.
Yeah, there's been a problem in the US with dealers marking up prices, I've heard. So you have the sticker price on the windshield that... Excuse me. You have the sticker price on the windshield that will be what it is, and the dealers be marking them up by $50,000 sometimes. I've seen on
Twitter, I could see that. They're trying to make money, and they can make money on it right now. With all the supply chain issues, you know, that's what everybody's doing. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Like, you look at an access point from Ubiquiti, if it's sold out, you go to eBay, it's 10 times the price.
Yep. Yeah, there's not much money to be made on that sort of thing.
No.
Yeah. The other thing was, so I don't know if you're aware of the other tech news that's been happening this week, but I know you're not into Apple stuff that much, but on Monday was Apple's developer conference. So they announced all the new software for this coming year, all the software for the iPhone and Mac and that sort of thing, and they also announced some new MacBooks with the M2 chip. So they've pushed their
I saw a bit about that.
Up. Yeah.
People were tweeting it. I don't know a whole lot about iPhones or Mac and stuff like that. I would want to get one of their new iPhones that have a Wi-Fi 6E chipset in it, because I need to do some Wi-Fi 6E testing. Besides that, I was going to buy a MacBook with the M1 chip, I guess it was.
Yeah.
And it was like $6,000. I decided against it. It was for like video editing and things like that, making some music. Sure. At the time, it just wasn't worth spending $6,000. I'll wait for the newer product, and then I'll spend that money to get it. Which it seems like they're coming out with it now.
Yeah, they're sort of on their second generation of their own processors that are after the Intel stuff they've been doing. So.
Oh, okay.
To have interest, what do you use to edit your videos for YouTube channel?
So I use DaVinci Resolve. I believe it's free. It's free. I think you could pay for a pro version maybe, but like you've seen, I just do cuts. It's a webcam. It's like a Twitch stream or a YouTube stream, how my videos go, and then I just show you how to configure things. DaVinci's, well, I've been using it for so long. It's very easy to use, but also super powerful. I know there are some other probably better products out there, but for me it works great.
Sure, that's great. And then also your in your videos you have a little box of your face as well. What is that, the same software, is it?
So for recording my videos, I use something called XSplit. So that it just brings my camera feed into it and then just whatever desktop I want. It's somewhat like OBS, nice. If you've heard of OBS. But XSplit, you have to pay for it. It's a monthly fee. Whereas OBS is a free solution. So I've used to do Twitch streaming years and years ago, and I always started with XSplit. So since I know it, nice. I'll just pay the $20 a month and that's it. It's hassle free and I don't need to worry about it or learning something new.
Awesome. Yeah, I use for my other videos I record, I use Loom. So it's a little circle and you can customize the blurs on the back of on your background, so people can't see what you're behind you and that sort of thing. And you can record in 4K, which is quite nice. So
yeah, I don't know if XSplit. Yes, XSplit does do 4K, and so I do push my videos out in 4K. But when I'm showing a desktop, it's in 1080, so it's a little bit different. I do have a 4K monitor, but I think with that, the text would be too small for people. Even if I zoom in, I need to still figure it out. And because if I'm doing 4K, I should go 4K all the way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. I think that's all I've got, to be honest.
Awesome.
So anything you wanted to go over? Or?
You know what? I don't think I have anything else to go over. We touched on quite a bit of Ubiquiti. I mean, there are other brands out there. If you're looking at other solutions, if you can't get Ubiquiti gear, because it's been challenged getting gear, TP-Link Amada is good. Their access points are pretty ugly. They're huge, but they do work well. Then you have some Aruba Instant On gear, which also works, but it's limited to the configuration. But my top pick is Ubiquiti, and hopefully supply chain issues. They do seem to be getting better, at least in the USA. Canada, we haven't got gear for a long time. But if you're looking for gear, you just need to, check out the site at like 7 a.m. in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, and they push out a ton of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. There's some of the cameras are quite hard to get hold of at the moment, I've noticed. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Awesome. Cool. I think we'll leave it there, to be honest. Cool.
All right.
So if anyone wants to see where Cody's YouTube channel is, his link will be in the description. Where can people find you on the socials?
Yeah, so my YouTube's youtube.com/MacTelecomNetworks, Instagram.com/MacTelecomNetworks, TikTok.com/MacTelecomNetworks, and then we have Twitter, which is the only one different, which is MacTelecomN, because they don't allow you that many characters. And yeah, it's been great being on the show. I appreciate you having me on.
Cool. Thank you much, Cody. All right.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.